The interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. The veteran's name is Bob Robbins. They were born on July 2nd, 1986, served in Afghanistan, achieved the rank of sergeant. We're recording this on November 25th, 2013. I'm Caleb Hawkins, and I'm conducting the interview, no relation. So, why did you decide to join the military?
Well, actually, I came to Clemson my freshman year, straight out of high school, 2004, and I wasn't a very good student, and so didn't have very good grades after that first year, so I was put on academic suspension and lost my scholarship, so I had to figure out a way to pay for school. So I saw the commercials on TV about the Army, so I lost a bunch of weight and went in as a combat engineer in September of '06. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Of course, you wanted to serve the country, but in reality, it was all about the school money at first.
Definitely. So, where'd you go for basic?
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Yeah. Went down to MEPS in Columbia for in processing, and then I think it was like a little over a week and a half after I signed, I was on a plane to Fort Leonard Wood for then we did the OSIT training, which is one station unit training. It's where basic training and our advanced individual training combined. So it was like 19 weeks straight through for, and then I was fully job qualified and just ready to go.
Gotcha. So from there, I guess you had maybe a little bit of leave, and then.
Yeah, well, I joined the reserves, from the get-go. So after basic training, I came back home and I worked. I graduated like January of 2007, and came home. I started working a little bit and just hanging out, and just doing my 1 week in a month with the reserves, and then started back in Clemson in the fall of '07, which some things ended up going bad that semester too. So I ended up dropping out of classes, and then there was a big break in between there, but. Yeah, came straight home, went back to school.
Okay. When was your first deployment?
I didn't deploy until 2010. We started mobilizing in January, and we got into country in June of 2010. And we landed in Kandahar. After training up in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, it was like the day we landed for mobilization, it was like minus 26. Just frigid, and then when we got in Afghanistan, I think it was 125.
Wow. So I guess your first experience of Afghanistan, other than being significantly hotter.
Yeah, we landed in Kandahar, and Kandahar airfield, it's huge. It's like a city, and. We were living in tents. They had air conditioning, or at least they had air conditioning, but it didn't work. Like they weren't insulated all the way around. So especially on the roofs, it was just a tent, and they had two huge air conditioners pumping air into it. But we'd still just lay there in our underwear and just sweat all day long, and that's basically all you did was sweat the whole time. But you get used to it, and it wasn't so miserable after you get acclimated.
So how long was it that you were actually staying in tents and whatnot?
Oh, we got into Kandahar, and then we stayed there like a few days, and then we finally moved to our home station, which was in Jalalabad, and we stayed a good another week or two, I think, in tents. That same situation. They had They'd have insulated walls, but no insulated roof. And yeah, I even slept right beside the air conditioning vent and would still just sweat all day and all night. It was bad. And Jalalabad was like incredibly humid too. It was, I think at some points it was upwards of like 130 degrees with like 80 or 90% humidity. Absolutely miserable. Like, absolutely miserable.
Jeez, couldn't imagine. So I guess from there, your kind of daily habits and routines were just.
Yeah, well, the first like month, we were in we were in Afghanistan. My platoon, we didn't have our trucks yet. So we did route clearance, so we had to have a full truck package with the Husky and the Buffalo and the RGs and stuff. And for the first month, we swapped in and out with one of our other platoons who had fallen in on trucks, and we were waiting on ours to be finished. They were in I think they were in Bagram, and we had to go pick them up. So day to day, we were just going, just doing some training and stuff, and then going out, whenever we could, and we would swap in and out, give some of the other guys relief, would take up some of the seats with one of our other platoons, and get some experience out on the route. But there wasn't a whole lot going on up there, where at least the times that I went out. Some of our other guys, they got into some stuff, but we were just, basically you get in the truck, you drive for a while, and you get to a place where you might think there was an IED, and we would dismount and sweep the sides of the road looking for command wires and stuff, and then climbing the mountains in the heat. And then interacting with the villagers and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Definitely. So when you say sweep, you're just going by hand, looking for physical evidence, or?
Yeah. So we just get out and we'd get into a formation, and then we would just walk the sides of the road, and then you're looking for indicators of IEDs, because they'll put markers a lot of times for when the convoy's coming along. They'll stack rocks or things like that to as an index point. So if truck gets to that point, then they'll hit the fire, or they'll initiate the IED, and looking for the command wires, because with all the rocks and everything, it takes a lot to. A lot of times they're just trying to conceal them in the brush and stuff instead of burying them. So we were looking for that. Never found anything doing that, but we're still out there making sure that. And thankfully, we didn't miss anything. We didn't find anything. We didn't miss anything up there. So
definitely,
that was good.
So about how long you said you were kind of in between waiting for your truck? Was it a month or so? Or?
Yeah, it took a month, maybe two. Kind of lost track. You're just in the middle of stuff, and you just don't really keep track of time that much. But we finally got our trucks. We flew to Bagram and picked them up, and they still weren't completely ready. So we were constantly battling, trying to get them ready. And I'm also trained in I'm a communications guy, so I'm an engineer and a convo guy, so I knew how to do all the radios and everything, so that was my responsibility in the convoy, along with my engineer duties. So I was constantly tracing down little demons in the comm systems of those trucks, because I think those trucks had been blown up before, and so they had rebuilt them, and not everything was there, and so I had to figure out what was wrong, like why wouldn't this truck talk and this and that, and finally got them all talking after a while.
Definitely. So I guess from from there, you just were kind of staying the grind and
Yeah.
keeping things going. And
Yeah, we got our trucks. We started running missions, and hell, it wasn't too long after we got our trucks though that they decided to move us. We started in Jalalabad in Nangarhar province, and then we got our trucks. And I remember we ran we ran a couple small missions. We ran one mission that took us damn near 2 weeks. We had to clear this route. All the way up to this fall called Bostick, and not long before we got there, there had been a big attack on Bostick. A lot of people had died, and when we got there, like I was sitting in the MWR, which was like right on the river, and we were taking mortars, right in the river, right beside us, and it was pretty hairy stuff up there, but we made it back, and then pretty much not long after we got back, they moved us. So we moved down to Kandahar province, and we moved back into transient tents for a while, and then we were running missions pretty regular down there. And the very first mission I went on down there, we found an IED after I hadn't seen one the whole time. We found one the very first mission, and then we just kept finding them. Yeah, there were lots of them down there. Like after once we got started, like we were staying in the transient tents, and then one day we went back up to Kandahar airfield, and we were having our trucks worked on, get some equipment added and stuff like that, and then on the way back, my LT volunteered us to clear this one route on the way back, and mind you, we had everything we owned in these trucks. Usually you just go with like the essentials, but we were pulling a trailer with all kinds of personal gear, and we just shouldn't be. I mean, of course we're always ready to go, but it just wasn't a good idea for us to be out there. We went down this route, and then we had found, we had intel that there were IEDs, and they had blimps up in the air with cameras, and they were guiding us in, and we found one, and I think the buffalo had hit it, but it didn't go off completely, so it just uncovered it. It set off the initiating charge, but it didn't set off the main charge. And so we bit that or blow it in place, and then we were moving on up, and then the front truck hit a big one and destroyed the truck. We had to medevac 2 guys out, and then when we were looking for a landing spot for the medevac bird, the rear truck got hit. Had to medevac a guy out of that. And we stayed out there that night waiting on the recovery team the next day. And then after they recovered that rear truck, the wrecker got blown up. So we were out there for 3 days. It's like, is this ever going to end? Because it just seemed like every time you turned around, there was another truck blowing up. It was pretty wild. And waking up every morning to gunfire, and we were surrounded by these weed forests. It was just right in the middle of Taliban Territory. There were, weed farmers and poppy farmers. So on that route where there wasn't a marijuana field, there was a recently harvested poppy field, and so they put all the IEDs in there to keep us away from it, because it had been part of America's mission at one point to destroy all the stuff they were going through, setting fire to it and everything. And even though the money, of course some of the money was going to support the Taliban, but that was also their livelihood, and so they got to protect it. And then as soon as we got back from that mission, I went home on leave.
Nice.
Yeah, as soon as we got back to the house, I was signing my papers, and 3 days later I was in the States.
Must have been a good feeling to go ahead and get home after that one.
Yeah, my head was spinning like crazy though. I got home and I was just like, because that was the first like real action I'd seen, and it was like, yeah, my head was spinning the whole time I was at home, and then I came back and I think I went on 3 missions whenever I got back from leave, and then we had one of our other platoons was out, and they had gotten hit, and they hit several IEDs that day, and their Buffalo went down, but everybody in there was fine. But then they had this truck called a PLS. It's on the same platform as like the Wrecker that we have, but it's a flatbed truck for cargo and stuff, and we're using that to carry this piece of machinery they call a flail. It's got like a rotor on the front with chains that beats into the ground to kick up mines and stuff, and they were carrying one of those out there, and they got hit, and it killed one of the guys in the truck, and so we got called up to go recover them, and then on the way out there, the blimps were walking us in again on an IED, and that's when I got hit, and so our truck was disabled, and I was injured, and then another truck got hit on the way out, and it was a crazy day. Lots of IEDs out there, and we got hit, and then I stayed out there, and they didn't medevac me because I didn't lose consciousness. I just did what they call casevac, where I stayed in the truck, and we drove back that night. My platoon stayed out there, and I hopped in with the platoon that we were leaving, and then I get back, and they x-rayed my foot, and it found my heel was fractured, and then so they medevaced me to Kandahar. I stayed there for like 9 days, getting having CAT scans and stuff like that, and they finally sent me to Germany. I think after like 9 days, they put me on a plane to Germany, and then to the States. And since I had a lower extremity injury, I was on crutches, and it's the policy, like I was on these big planes, and if you're what you call a litter patient, you're like on a litter. I had to stay. I had to stay on the litter the whole way across the Atlantic. Well, they let me get up and go to the bathroom and stuff, but I had to sleep on this very uncomfortable stretcher all the way from Afghanistan to the United States. It was terrible, but made it back, and they took me to Fort Gordon, to the Warrior Transition Battalion, where I got my medical treatment and all. Ended up staying there for a year and a half before I was released in July of 2012, and came back to school.
Alrighty. So when the bomb actually went off, and what exactly were you doing, and kind of where did it go off? And
I was in a Buffalo, which Buffalo is like the biggest, most blast resistant truck the Army has. It's an incredible piece of machinery. It weighs like, I think, 30 tons. It's a huge truck. And I was fortunate to be in that truck because, and it's kind of a freak accident, or it just wasn't. Most of the time people don't really get injured with an IED. Like, 'cause that IED was only like between 250 and 300 pounds. And that truck could take way more than that, but it hit just right under the transfer case, and which was like the only opening in the hull. It's got the V hole to disperse the blast, and it just hit right on that perfect spot where the opening was, and pushed the transfer case up into the subfloor inside and right into the bottom of my foot. And I just so happened to have, my foot was sitting right on the seam. It's like just metal plates on the inside, and they're welded down the center, and my foot was right on the seam and right where that transfer case came up. So it was a fairly mild injury, but it was enough to get me out of there. It was like almost like Forrest Gump's $1 million injury.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess you said that you were in the United States for a year and a half before you were released. During that time, were you going through extensive rehab, or what kind of?
Yeah, the first couple, I was on crutches for 3 months, but they were hoping that, like, when I fractured my heel, it was just like a little sliver of bone off the side. It wasn't like through and through. Didn't require surgery or anything, but they just kept me in a leg cast for 3 months, hoping that it would heal, and it never did. So it's still fractured. But when I got off, before I went to Afghanistan, I was out at and it was August and September of 2009. I was out at Fort Leonard Wood again for this course called the Explosive Ordnance Clearance Agent course. It's basically it's led by EOD, and it just trained we're doing a lot of stuff like more advanced identification of ordnance, and teaching you the proper BIP or blast in place procedures for ordnance and IEDs. Just proper, like what you do. You just take you take some C4 and you put it on the IED and you just blow it up. And so I was at that course, but for one of the exercises we were doing, we were bipping a mortar, and so and we were just going through a whole scenario. We filled sandbags and built a protective barrier around it to contain the blast. And I was filling sandbags, and I was like passing one over, and my wrist popped. And come to find out, I like fractured a bone in my wrist a while back and didn't even know that I did. And I knew I had some stiffness in my wrist, but I had refractured it, just twisted it, and I guess it was like a partial union. It was just it wasn't healed very well, and so discovered that was fractured, and then went back to my unit, and I was supposed to go see a hand surgeon and all this. When I did see one, but then I never got the MRI or anything, and didn't really know what the situation was. But then the pain went away, and I was able to do push-ups and stuff without too much pain. And then we deployed, and I didn't want to bring it up to get out of deployment. So, but when I got back and I got off crutches, I started talking to the doctors, and since I had all the paperwork and everything, they went ahead and did the surgery. Ended up having 3 surgeries, and that's what kept me there so long. Was the first one, they did a bone graft and put a screw in that bone to try to get it to heal, and bone graft didn't take, so they went on a second time and pulled out that screw, which I don't know why they even did a second surgery just to pull a screw out. And then they went in a third time and took that bone out, and then put a plate in my wrist and for partial fusion, so I have a lot less range of motion now. But yeah, that's what kept me there so long. The blast injury didn't keep me there very long. I would have been long gone if it hadn't been for my wrist. But it's kind of a good thing, because while I was there, I some stuff doesn't really set in for a while. Like I started getting these burning pains in my hip and down my leg, and so I started going to the doctor about that, and they didn't really figure out what it was while I was there, but I got some documentation on it. And then when I got out and started going to the VA, I discovered that either from the blast or something, one of my vertebrae had been displaced, and it was pinching my sciatic nerve. So, and I got like degenerative disc disease and like pinched nerves in my upper back too, and so, but I got everything documented, so I'm able to get the medical care I need through the VA, and yeah.
So I guess in terms of or injuries that were initially sustained, the only you didn't have any type of shrapnel or anything like that, or
no shrapnel. Yeah, all that happened is like when the IED went off, that transfer case pushed up and it like displaced the floor in the truck probably 6 or 8 inches, and just right into the bottom of my foot, and so it was like that little fracture and then the world's worst sprained ankle. Like I still have to this day I still have kind of like discoloration on the skin on the side of my ankle. I guess from the trauma. It's clearing up, every day, but yeah, I can still see like this kind of weird discolored stuff going on there. I don't have any real pain from it. Sometimes it aches a little, but no real long-term injuries from it.
Definitely. Well, you were blessed for sure.
Yeah, dude, that was like I said, it was like Forrest Gump's $1 million gunshot.
For sure. Well, shoot, man. I guess kind of looking back on the whole experience, I would assume you're not looking to re-enlist, or?
Nah, man. Well, with this back stuff, I'm not really able to do. I can't keep up physically with the requirements of the Army, and I might be getting a medical board soon, which is basically they look at all your medical stuff and evaluate your medical fitness for service. I get out in September of next year, completely, but I may get out before. I might have to extend past that if they do the medical board, because those things take a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready to be out and be a civilian. I'm gonna miss it, of course, but and sometimes I think what if I did keep going? Because I do like it. I like the lifestyle, and I just have that mentality now, where and a lot of veterans can say the same thing. It's just the there's a kind of a disconnect between the of course we're all still Americans and all that, but just the way you think after you join. I don't know, it's a different lifestyle, and like going back into civilian life. I don't know. There's like there's kind of a bit of a cultural divide, I guess. Still get along with everyone and everything, but there's just nothing like the military culture. It's unique, and I don't know. It just makes sense. I mean, it's like even though we live in a free, democratic, capitalist society, like the military is like it's almost like socialist concentration there in a way, and just a lot of it sucks, but a lot of it just makes a lot of sense, and I don't know. I love it, but I hate it. It's weird. So I don't know, man. I might end up trying to get a job with the in federal service after I graduate, or since I probably won't be able to continue on serving, just go to work for, try to work for the DoD or something like that. Just stay in that environment.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and I really enjoyed the interview. And if you got any questions or anything like that, feel free to contact me in the meantime.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.